Hey, World Entertainment, have you ever wanted a Star Wars horror movie? What about a 3-camera sitcom for a Star Wars show? No? Maybe? Sure? Well, that's what Tony Gilroy is talking about, and has now hinted that Star Wars is actually making a horror version of Star Wars. Don't know whether it's a movie or a show, but he is giving out weird ideas, and for some reason Star Wars seems to be actually going in that direction. So let's have a look at what exactly he said and how he elaborates what he means. So, Andor showrunner Tony Gilroy recently articulated his vision for a more diversified Star Wars universe, advocating for the exploration of formats such as a 3-camera sitcom or a project within the horror genre. Now, before we move on, and people heard that word diversified, they're probably thinking, oh god, is he talking about just like more black people and women and blah? No, he's talking about the actual genres that could be used for Star Wars. So speaking to Sci-Fi magazine back in March, Gilroy specifically said, I always fantasized that the show would break new ground, that someone would be able to make a 3-camera sitcom in Star Wars or a horror movie. By the way, he's talking about Andor here, what they did with Andor. He was hoping that could open the floodgates for other creators to come in and do this. So he continues saying, I think the first thing I said to Kashi when she said they wanted to open a line was, could you do a courtroom drama? And why not? We've worked really hard on Andor to make our lane, and it's up to other people now to find another way to do it. Business Insider's recent attendance at the premiere of the latest season of Andor provided an opportunity to question Tony Gilroy about his previously expressed interest in genre diversification. Contrary to expectations, Gilroy revealed that he had recently been informed of an existing Star Wars horror project in development, saying, they're doing that. I think they're doing that. I think that's in the works, yeah. When asked about the direction he'd like to see the horror project go, Gilroy admitted, I'm agnostic about what should be done. I mean, I was riffing when I said, oh, do a 3-camera comedy show. I was riffing, and sometimes riffing doesn't work with the Star Wars community, but the right creator and the right comment and the right vibe, you can do anything. So that's what he was saying. So Lucasfilm's ongoing efforts to diversify the Star Wars franchise has been underscored by recent commentary from Andor creator Tony Gilroy, igniting considerable speculation among its dedicated audience. The prospect of a venture into the horror genre within this beloved universe has generated fervent discussion regarding previously unexplored narrative avenues. So they're kind of talking now about like, oh, if they could do that, then they could do this and blah, blah, blah. The idea of a horror movie maybe with Star Wars. Why? And this is the question you have to ask. Is there interest in it? Sure, it could be interesting. But the biggest question would have to be, realistically, why try and change the format of Star Wars? We know what Star Wars is. We know what you could add into it. But why change the actual premise of Star Wars? It's Star Wars. And to say we don't have horror elements, well, you do have horror elements already in Star Wars. You had it in the books with the whole zombie stormtroopers. Then even the Ahsoka show actually went ahead and added in the zombie stormtroopers. So it's not like elements of horror didn't show up in the franchise before, because it very much did. But this idea now that, hey, let's do a movie on horror, then what are you going to do? How are you going to start saying, right, let's do this, but then we can also do the idea of a 3-camera sitcom, or worse yet, a courtroom drama for Star Wars? Like, if you're hearing all these ideas are coming from Andor, because Andor was basically the framework to be able to do this. Andor is such a slow burn. Like, each story, you've said this before, that there's 3 episodes for each story element of the series. And the first two are always this boring, sluggish crap that goes nowhere. And then the third episode is where everything gets wrapped up and something happens. But it's the format that it's done in, it's horrible. It really is. I know there's people who enjoy Andor. You know, knock yourself out to enjoy it. But I found it boring and hard. The performances were great and the world looked great. But the overall story and the pacing is horrible. Absolutely horrible. And if that's the way they want to start moving forward is, oh, let's make it more like Andor. God, no. And again, a horror, like, is it going to be R-rated? Is it going to be for kids? You know? And then where does the argument come in? You know, when we push back against bad Star Wars and what do you always get to, what are you all getting money for it? It's a kids program. It's a kids movie franchise. It's kids. And yet people are going, we want R-rated Star Wars and stuff. What happens then? What happens if they make a horror movie for Star Wars? Make it R-rated. Put it out and it absolutely tanks at the box office. Then what do they say? What do they say? You can't turn around and go, oh, you're just being angry about it because it's for kids. No. And then they'd probably make the argument of, oh, you're angry now because it's not for kids. Either way, I think there's interesting things they could do, but under Disney in that direction, yeah, it's probably not going to work the way they think it's going to work. Especially if they just start putting out garbage for the sake of putting out garbage. Which is basically, hey, if we can make it this, then let's make it that. Simply because we can. You know, it's not the question of should we, it's the question that it's we can. We'll wait and see what actually happens. So with that, I shall leave it there for this one. You know the drill. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.